To get an update right now on the situation, we speak to Thania Dhoogra of the N3 Toll Concession. Thania, pleasure to have you on the program, despite the circumstances on the road. Firstly, tell us, how does the N3 Toll Concession aim to really improve overall traffic flow there, especially during adverse weather conditions like we are seeing right now?
Well, good evening, Klantla, and to all your viewers. I think we can all agree that this is one of those situations that is really, really coming out of the blue. I don't think we've ever experienced a scenario like this anywhere in South Africa, and particularly not on the N3 toll route. But that said, we have very, very detailed winter contingency plans, usually to address snowfall on the N3 toll route. Nothing of this magnitude that has been experienced before, as I said, but we're working with all of the disaster management teams throughout all of the provinces and on a national level. All of the emergency services are fully deployed. Our own route services teams are fully deployed, and we're leaning on the assistance of all of the other law enforcement and emergency services officials like the SANDF to assist us in this scenario. We've also been really fortunate to have the support of local communities, local farmers, and humanitarian organizations who are helping us to reach all of the stranded users along the route.
So we've heard from stranded motorists who have spoken to us on this platform. Maybe let's move to that. What specific safety initiatives are in place at the moment, especially at toll plazas, to really ensure the well-being of both drivers and staff during this kind of weather?
Well, at this point in time, as you might have seen reported, Tugela Plaza and Wilge Plaza are closed to traffic. And the conditions on the route, basically, although at the moment snowfall has eased up slightly, the weather services are reporting that it's likely that we will see, again, severe snowfalls happening during the course of the evening. So that is not going to change for this, at the moment. The road will remain closed to traffic, and rescue operations are still ongoing. So what we're doing from our side is, in addition to mobilizing all of our resources to reach all of the stranded users, so we're also urging motorists to stay at home. Please avoid travel to the area. We really would appreciate everyone's assistance with not contributing to the issue at hand. There's a lot of people who are out there in dire need of support and assistance, and we're really doing our utmost to get the emergency services and that assistance to them. But that is obviously really compounded by motorists who are stuck there. I understand that they're very anxious and need to get out of there. But by, traveling contraflow, for example, and blocking the other roadway, they're also preventing the emergency services from gaining access to the road users.
Thania, let's speak about collaboration now. How does the N3 Toll Concessions collaborate with, for instance, SANRAL to address road safety and maintenance issues on that route?
Well, we are a very collaborative organization. We work very closely with with SANRAL themselves, who are basically the other party to the concession contract. We also work with representatives from the Department of Transport, both nationally and provincially. But it doesn't just stop there. I mean, we're working closely with all of law enforcement officials, with emergency services on a continuous basis to improve the education initiatives and the message both, about road safety to all of our road users. It is one of those things that is a collaborative effort, not just from an agency perspective and from a concessionaire perspective, but also requires the input and assistance from our road users themselves, because they have a very important part to play in ensuring that the roadway itself is also safe for their fellow motorists.
In situations like this, prompt communication is key. Let's speak about that. What communication strategies are utilized to really keep toll users informed about these road conditions, the closures that we speak of as well, but also the safety advisories that need to land to motorists as well?
Well, we're using every available channel that is open to us. We are publishing regular updates to keep our motorists advised about the current and up-to-date status of the route and the weather conditions on the N3 toll route. That's through all the social media platforms. We're talking to the media, such as yourselves, as well, to make sure that we can get that message across on, via television, but also through all of the radio channels. We are, like I said, trying to pull out all the stops. We're also engaging with all of our partners in the space, for example, Arrive Alive will use all of their efforts and all of the channels that are open to them so that we can disseminate the message to as many people as possible. And we rely heavily on all of our road users and our motorists to also share the message on our behalf.
Let's speak about the feedback mechanisms that you have in place. How does N3 Toll Concessions then gather or even respond to feedback from the road users regarding their experience at these toll points?
Well, we are closely monitoring all of the social media platforms. We also have our 24-hour N3 helpline, which is 0800 634357, where motorists can communicate directly with us, especially at the moment where if they can report any emergencies that are occurring. And the other thing we encourage them to do is to reach out to us directly on X at N3 Route. That is being monitored 24/7 at the N3 TC Route Control Center, where our team is on hand and ready to assist and to mobilize all of the necessary resources that might be required.
I guess it then also begs the questions as to, are there any plans to indeed implement advanced technologies at toll plazas to also enhance safety and efficacy during inclement weather?
Well, we're always, what I wanted to say is I think there's always room for improvement. We're working very closely with everyone. We are definitely, investigating technologies that are available. But as I said, this is one of those scenarios that I don't think anybody could have preempted that it was going to be this severe and extending to, the area that it has affected. It's not just the N3 toll route that's impacted, but large areas around there, all the arterial roads around the N3 toll route and the surrounding areas have been impacted. And I mean, as I said, this is extended all the way from Harwick in KwaZulu-Natal to Warden in the Free State. That's a very extensive area that has been exposed to really significant and heavy snowfall.
I would imagine that in a situation like this, getting an emergency vehicle to site might be quite difficult. What protocols are in place at the moment for managing emergencies on the N3, particularly during extreme weather events like the one that we are seeing? Also hearing about the phenomena of black ice.
Well, we have a very advanced road incident management system that has been effective and implemented on the N3, and that's what we basically rely on all the time to respond to any incident. We are obviously, constantly enhancing it and improving it, but that helps us to dictate the protocols that need to be implemented and followed in the event of any incidents. For example, with regards to the formation of black ice, there would be the application of brine on the road surface. But unfortunately, these things do take some time. And given the speedy time within which the temperature has dropped, and it has complicated the situation. And also, as I said, the extent of the area, we can't be everywhere at once, unfortunately. We are working very closely with the other emergency services as well, so that we can all respond. It's a well-coordinated effort, and at this point is extending across all 4 of the provinces that the N3 does transact. But like I said, this is a very large-scale and complicated process and operation that is underway.
Thania, as we begin winding down our conversation, let's speak about long-term infrastructure plans. How does the N3 Toll Concession plan to upgrade infrastructure where necessary to better withstand severe weather conditions like what we are seeing?
Nhlanhla, I think that it's unfortunately not necessarily the right time for us to be discussing infrastructure developments. Our focus right now is on the emergency efforts that are required. Our efforts right now are focused on getting to our road users who are stranded, to clearing that roadway and restoring mobility as soon as possible, and keeping all of our emergency services teams safe while they are doing so. Obviously, though, it's not something that we're going to ignore, and where infrastructure updates and upgrades are required, we will definitely take those into consideration in our planning going forward.
As we heard earlier, while speaking to Sanral, the N3 is quite a busy route where goods trucks also travel. How do you assess the economic impact of tolling, especially on local communities, especially in relation to road safety and maintenance as well?
I'm sorry, can you maybe clarify what you mean there?
Right. So basically, I'm speaking about the economic activity happening on this route. How has it been impacted by this severe weather condition?
Well, I mean, obviously, with the N3 being one of the premier economic arteries of the country, carrying, I want to say, almost the lifeblood of our country right now, this is going to be having a very severe economic impact on there, not just on the economy itself, but also socially impacting all of the communities along the route, because access to resources is going to be limited right now. But obviously, as I said, we are working really hard to clear the roadway to make sure that we can restore mobility. We understand the importance and the impact on the economy and our road users and on the communities that are surrounded by our route. And that is of the utmost importance to us, is to make sure that we ensure the safety of and the mobility of our road users and the communities that we serve.
And Thania, as we conclude, perhaps remind us of that emergency number that you gave us. And is there any additional information we need to get, particularly focusing on the N3?
So I advise everyone to follow us on X at N3 Route, or to contact us on 0800 634357. I think the most important thing I'd like to communicate right now is to please remind road users to avoid travel on the N3. I understand that it's the long weekend and everyone wants to go out there and enjoy themselves, but we really want to give the emergency services an opportunity to get to the people who are stranded. We don't want to compound the problem, so please stay at home until we advise you further that the roadway is open and it is safe to resume travel.